Good morning and welcome to the September 9th meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals. First order of business is roll call. Ms. Mayweather? Here. Ms. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Culberson?
Here.
Mr. Kent?
Here.
Mr. Pedersen?
Here.
And Ms. Konishi is here. Next up, we have approval of the meeting minutes from the last board meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Mayweather?
Same.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Culberson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Pedersen?
Yes.
And Ms. Konishi, yes. I will now turn it over to our city attorney, Ramona Siriani.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I apologize. I feel like my back is to you. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals. This is a board comprised of volunteer members of our community. They are appointed by our city commission to serve and to listen and hear requests for variances from our city's land development code, where literal enforcement of the code would create an undue and unnecessary burden or hardship, and where granting that variance wouldn't be contrary to public interest. The way the procedures will work today is that the board will call each applicant forward. If you could state your name for the record and address and just give a brief description of what your variance request is. The board members will have an opportunity to ask any questions, and then staff will also be given an opportunity to present any information. If there are any members from the public in the audience that wish to speak for or against a particular variance, they'll also be given an opportunity to do so. I would ask that if you plan on speaking before the board today, that we'll need to go ahead and swear you in. So if you could stand at this time and raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. Turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you. Our first applicant this morning is David Zanders, who is requesting a 2-foot variance to allow a maximum fence height of 8 feet in lieu of the 6-foot maximum height for fences within rear yards in order to construct an 8-foot high privacy fence along the rear of the property and a portion of the north property line on property located at 4216 Inverness Court.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. My name is David Zanders, and my address is 4216 Inverness Court. In lieu of the variance, I'm requesting 8-foot fence because if you're standing on the patio with the slope and the pitch of the lot, the 6-foot fence appears to be 4 foot. The road behind me feeds 4 houses, I think, and it's not that traffic I'm worried about because everybody drives cars, but it's turned into kind of like a nature trail back there. Bicyclists, joggers, and just Amazon guys. And so if we're on the patio, you know, me and the girlfriend, it's people walk by, they just see everything. With the 8-foot fence, in the end, the fence would be 6 foot at eye level at the focal point. And in that northeast corner, I was requesting to come over another, I think, 2 panels because that same focal point. From there, it terminates into my neighbor's. He's got palm trees and bamboo, so kind of don't need it all the way down, but if it's okay with you guys, I would just assume go 8 foot all the way down. I'm only gonna do this once. There's nobody behind me. I got Lake Pollock that backs up to Stony Point, so I believe all my neighbors responded to the email. Nobody has a problem with it. Like I said, I'm in the back and just need some privacy.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Of course.
I believe Todd Vargo with the planning department came out, and he was invited through the house, and his girlfriend had him on speaker, and as soon as she came through the sliding glass doors and stood on the patio there, he was like, oh wow, because you can just see over everything.
All right, thank you. Do you have comments from the city?
I don't want to plant a bunch of bamboo and palm trees because that's, you know, for the privacy, I got to clean up after it.
Good morning. For the record, Todd Vargo with Community and Economic Development Department. Mr. Sanders, you can have a seat if you want. If they have any more questions, they'll call you back up. As Mr. Sanders stated and as the items described, this is for a 8-foot fence along the rear portion of the yard, and then a little portion of the north property line as well. This is the lot at 4216 Inverness Court. This is requested for privacy's sake. You can see from this property, this photo, as I'm standing in the rear of their property, there is a significant grade difference between the pool deck down to the fence. It's about a 2-foot difference. And then here is from standing on the pool deck, you can see easily over the 6-foot fence to the 6-foot fence on the other side of the road that runs along the rear of the property line. And in fact, here's even looking kind of to the southeast. You know, you can see the garage door of this house here. These pictures are mainly just to show you the grade difference and how the 6-foot fence really is not effective in blocking out anyone, again, who would be walking or bicycling along the rear property line, or the street that abuts the rear property line. Here's the site plan as submitted by Mr. Sanders. So the 8-foot fence would be along, again, that rear property line, which is the eastern property line, north is to the left. And then a portion of this north property line, and I'm sorry, I wish I had gotten a picture of it, but Mr. Sanders, when he said, he's correct, his neighbor to the north has extensive landscaping here, bamboo and everything that would block off his view of the pool area, but there is a portion towards the corner where there is no vegetation, and that's, I think, where he's asking for the 8-foot fence just on this corner. We did receive 2 emails in support. One was from a neighbor across the street, but more importantly, the other one was from his neighbor to the north, who will be, again, kind of affected by the 8-foot fence. He wrote in an email in support of this variance. With that being said, the hardship suffered by the applicant is not a result of any action taken by the applicant. The relief, we believe, is reasonable and proportionate to the degree of hardship due to the natural grade change. Provided there are no substantive objections from adjoining property owners, we recommend the variance be considered for approval with the condition that the height variance be limited only to fencing placed along the rear or east property line and a 15-foot portion of the north property line to allow for a transition in fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
There is no one here no one else from the community who's in attendance today who has any opposition?
Anyone? Nope, doesn't look like it.
Okay. So if we were to approve this, we would have to specify that it's only for that portion, so the rear fence and then that portion of the side?
Yeah, I think if you approve it, I mean, that's what the variance is for, so if you approve it, you approve it with the rear and that portion of the north fence. I don't think you need to specify, but.
The white fence we're looking at now, is that 6 or 8 foot?
The white fence?
I believe that would be on the south side, correct?
I believe that's a 6-foot fence, yeah.
Is there an existing side yard fence, or Is this to replace an existing side yard fence?
On the north side?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, again, there's an existing fence there. Just didn't get a picture of it.
Is it the neighbors or is it the property owners?
That's a good question that I don't know. Mr. Zanders, the fence along the north side, is it yours?
If you could come up and just, thank you. We just can't hear you.
I would say it is mine, being that we call it the ugly side, is facing my house. I would assume it's mine. That portion of white fence on my south neighbor, his, it kind of slopes down too, so when they put his fence in, they ran it level and didn't follow the grade. And he came back later on and poured concrete under the gap to make it aesthetically pleasant. Yes, but I don't want to do that. 8 foot by eye level at focal point would be 6 foot technically. Again, I don't want to plant a bunch of bushes and shrubs that are going to grow into the power lines.
So if they kept it level and they had to pour concrete underneath, and that would probably have extended it, so what we're looking at may not in fact be a 6-foot fence. Is that correct?
In that corner to the south,
Yes, sir.
if you ran a tape measure, it'd probably be over 7, close to 7.5. Just in that corner, but that's why I planted these palm trees on the south edge of the pool screen. Block his view. I mean, nobody's nosy, but
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Mayweather? Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Culberson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Konishi, yes. So you're approved. Congratulations.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
If it is an option, can I just run that east-west?
No, that wasn't part of the variance request.
You would have to put in it for another application.
Okay, no, I'm good. I'm good with everything.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
it will be just for the east 15 feet of that north property line will be
Just for the highlighted section?
Yes.
So it would be the east side and then probably like 20 feet of the north side?
you recommend
Yeah.
it there?
I think we gave him, sorry,
yeah,
15 feet along here. So
Right.
the entire east property line and then the eastern 15 feet along the north property line.
Oh, I thought it was the whole highlighted section, but okay.
And I think staff's recommendation was just limited to that first hash mark. I guess 15 feet is what staff is saying. So that's
Yes.
what you had approved based on staff's recommendation. He was actually, the applicant was asking for more.
I was, but if I can get what I'm asking for now, I'm very pleased. The panels themselves in length at the 8-foot level are 6 foot in length instead of 8. So that would give me, 2 panels would give me 12. And then they would taper down from that at a slant and continue to run it out at 6 foot.
Yeah, in here, does it say how many feet we're giving him? It was just deceiving because I'm looking at a highlighted section, which goes a lot further than that first hash mark, and it goes to the second hash mark, so I made an assumption we were approving the entire highlighted section, which would be more to his benefit than that little tiny nubbin.
Oops, I'm in the wrong staff report. I think it says, the last sentence says, staff recommends the variance be considered for approval with the condition that the height variance be limited only to fencing placed along the rear east property line, which is the big blue line at the top there, and a 15-foot portion of the north property line to allow for a transition in fence height from 6 to 8 feet. So, yeah, we gave him 15 feet along this north property line.
I'm good.
Yeah, what would be approximately 25 feet from the back of the pool deck to the property line, so that was an approximation that estimate.
Okay, I see that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. Thank you, Mr. Barker.
Thanks.
Next, we have Robert Marks, who is requesting a 4-foot 8-inch variance to allow a 10-foot 4-inch rear yard setback in lieu of the 15-foot minimum specified by the PUD zoning of the Sandpiper Golf and Country Club, Ordinance 3563 as amended, and a 4.3% variance to allow a maximum lot coverage of 39.3% in lieu of the 35% maximum specified by Table 3.4-5 of the Land Development Code to allow for the construction of an addition on property located at 6251 Crane Drive.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Marks, and we are looking to add this small addition to our house on the rear side. It does not meet the 15-foot minimum as stated, and we were looking also that the 4.3% variance to allow a maximum lot coverage of 39.3. We are hoping to get approval so we could add this complete new concrete block addition to our home, giving us a brand new sunroom under hard roof, and it would be all windows. I have to bring up one point. In doing this, I don't know how I did it, but when I was working with Mr. Cheney, I had shown 11 by 20 addition on my plot map for him, and the actual request for a new room is 11 by 21.
I added it, but it must have been too late. Here, use this one.
And that is the only mistake I made in putting out the bid project. I have my selected contractor here with me. I can answer any questions, or if he needs to, Mr. Mealy can also.
So on the application, it's 21 feet, and what you're actually needing is 20?
No, actually, I made the mistake in the drawings. All the drawings that went out and my application under project name showed 11 by 20. I didn't catch it. It should have been 11 by 21. All the drawings presented show 11 by 21 total outside dimensions.
But that's not changing the request, the specific
No,
request for the...
no, not at all, not at all. It just, I wanted you to be aware that I made that mistake, and it is 11 by 21.
Okay.
I couldn't find it.
Do you have any questions from the board? Comments from the city?
I know we'd asked the applicant to confirm at its nearest point how far the addition was going to be from the property line, because the rear property line you see from the aerial here, it jogs to the southeast here, so it's not parallel to the front property line there. So as you go further southeast, it's going to converge closer to that sort of northeast point of the addition. That was based on the 11 by 20, I think is what you had provided us. You would confirm that. Is that going to change?
The measurement is for the 11 by 21. I confirmed that there was a distance, which I sent to Mr. Cheney, of 10'4" exactly to the property line at the 21-foot mark.
Okay, I just want to make sure that what we're requesting, what we advertise for, is consistent with what you're actually going to need when you go to permitting, so there's no confusion.
Okay.
Right, because if it's more, then we would have to continue it and renotice that.
Correct.
Correct.
But the dimension I provided Mr. Cheney was for the 21-foot. It simply was a misprint that I did not catch when I was sketching this up to send it out to the contractors.
So the measurement from the rear yard setback is to the 21 foot?
It's to the 21-foot width of the building, yes. From that 21-foot point, which is right at our master bedroom window, it is exactly as I stated to him, 10 foot 4 inches.
Yeah.
So what you're suggesting is that the footprint is dimensioned properly. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it switched back. However, the actual identification of that was incorrect. So it's dimensioned properly, it's a scale drawing because it is a boundary survey.
Exactly.
You're showing the correct footprint. So we measured off the correct setback from where that property line jogs there, and then you can see it'll be much closer to the rear property line. So the only error, based on what you're suggesting, is that it should have been identified as 11 by 21.
Yes.
But it's not the drawing itself.
No.
Okay.
It should
Just
have
for-
been,
just
should have
wanted to
been
clarify
11
that
by
for everyone.
21. That's how it's been put together since the beginning. It was just an error on my part, error of omission, but the sketch is of the 11 by 21. I physically measured it, scaled it first, and then physically measured it when we arrived back in Florida 2 weeks ago with my survey pins. So the 10'4" number I gave you is an exact number.
And just to reiterate, that 10-foot-4 would be from this point here, measured perpendicular to the rear property line. And I believe that's shown in your packet.
Correct. You sent this particular drawing to me, and then I confirmed it with you.
Yes, sir.
May I have that drawing, please, sir?
Sure.
Okay, I think that better illustrates what the applicant is describing, as you can see here. So again, just for clarification, the structure will be 11 foot by 21. However, it is drawn correctly on this dimension drawing, which is a boundary survey. Okay, for the record, my name is Joshua Chain with Community Economic Development. Let me go back to the aerial or the slideshow. So again, this property is located in the Sandpiper Golf and Country Club. It has PUD zoning. This lot is 47 foot wide by 91 foot deep. It has an existing 1,836 square foot single-family home. It was built in 1988. Again, the purpose of the request is to obtain variance relief, which will allow for the construction of this 11 by 21 addition on the backside of the existing home. This is from the front, and then we'll go around to the backside here. You can see the existing porch there with a hard roof. This is the area where it will be constructed. It'll tie into this structure, existing structure. And then there's a wide angle which better depicts both the area where this will be constructed as well as the approximate location or the locations of the existing homes adjacent to the subject property. For those of you familiar with Sandpiper, as you're aware, these are fairly shallow lots varying between 90 to 91, 92 foot in depth, and that often is the reason why we are here with these type of requests, is because of that shallow depth. In addition to that, as we noted earlier with the site plan that you saw, this one has a regular shape. So measured from the nearest point, the existing single-family home is located approximately 21.4 feet from the rear property line, and at the furthest point it is 23.9. With the addition of this structure, at the closest point it would be 10 foot 4 inches, and at the furthest point it would be 12 foot 9.
Has the HOA approved this?
I'm sorry?
Has the HOA approved?
Yes, the Architectural Review Committee reviewed this request on July 15, 2021. The applicant did provide a copy of that letter, so they have seen it and they have approved it. We have not received any emails or phone calls with regards to this request. And with that, staff does recommend approval. The hardship suffered is related to the irregular lot geometry and is not the result of any action taken by the applicant. The amount of relief requested is reasonable, and the minimal amount necessary to accommodate the proposed addition due to a lack of viable alternatives and the minimal impact on adjacent properties. Staff recommends that this request be considered for approval. And with that, I'll stand for any other questions you may have.
Looking at this photo, coming 11 foot off the house, how close are we to that large planter where the plants are? Is it right on top of it?
No, it would be most likely about 4.5 feet because I wanted to make sure the mowers could just easily go through there. They have trouble making quick turns, so make it smooth on them and makes it a lot nicer on your landscaping. They don't do a spin out.
So it's about a 4-foot gap.
Yes.
And there's no one in the community in attendance that has any objections? Okay.
And on the screen is the approval from the Sandpiper HOA.
Mr. Marks, just to back you up just briefly as a matter of record, can you just state your address?
My address is 6251 Crane Drive
Thank you.
in Lakeland.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Mayweather?
Approve.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Culberson?
Yes.
Mr. Pent?
Yes.
Mr. Pedersen?
Yes.
Ms. Konishi, yes. You're approved.
Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Next, we have Home Plus Enterprise. It's the applicant. The request is for a 1-foot 9-inch variance to allow a 3-foot 3-inch side yard setback from the south property line in lieu of the 5-foot minimum setback specified by Table 3.4-1 of the Land Development Code in order to construct a rear yard addition on an existing single-family home, and a 6-inch variance to allow a 4-foot 6-inch side yard setback from the north property line in lieu of the 5-foot minimum specified by Table 3.4-1 of the Land Development Code in order to rebuild an existing wood deck on property located at 711 College Avenue. Can you state your name and address?
Yes, my name is Leonard Wood, 19148 Burke Road, Dade City, Florida. The reason we're here today is because this is a very undersized lot for a larger house that's almost 100 years old. Unfortunately, the previous owner was a realtor who tried to take this and tried to make it into a 3-bedroom home and took the back porch and basically destroyed it by enclosing it and trying to make a bedroom that went from 8-foot to 4.5-foot ceiling and a washroom, which is why we've decided to take that off. But in the same process, we have to replace the wooden deck that's on the north side, which is already in violation of the setback, and the south side of the building is only like 18 inches off the building line. So we're planning to take off the bad portion of the house that she had tried to renovate without a permit and put in an actual master bedroom and bath at the same side setback on the rear, on the south side. And because it's in the, in the historic district and all the rest, we're here because, the lot is so darn small. So it's basically, we're asking to add a master bedroom after we demolition the old portion where the realtor had messed up, and then replacing the wooden deck on the north side. We're right behind Red Door Restaurant. You can see that porte cochere, that post that comes down there is a foot from the property line on the right side. And the left side, the house is 18 inches off the property line. So obviously, once they built the house, years later, when they cut the land up, they put the very minimum size lot on it, so it is very minimum.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Philip Scaris with Community and Economic Development. This was the nature of the request is in relation to the substandard lot dimensions. This the T.H. Johnson subdivision was platted in 1918, and the house was built in 1925. And sometime around that time when the house was built, this was 25, 30 years before our original zoning code was adopted in 1950. The lot was cut out, and it was just, so it's a legal non-conforming substandard lot. So that's why we're here today asking for the variances. The zoning, interestingly, is 01 light office, but the 01 does allow single-family residential uses that are consistent with the RA3, RA4 standards within the urban neighborhoods district. So when we applying these variances, this is from the urban neighborhood standards of table 3.4-1. So again, the first variance is a 1.9 foot variance from the side yard for this addition here. There's existing 3 foot 3 inch variance, so that's why we're requesting the 1.9. And then this 5 foot side yard setback on the northern property line here is the request is for 6 inches, 6 inch variance along that side. The portico share is already there. According to Emily Foster, our historic preservation planner, it wasn't considered as part of this request, but this did go, the improvements that Mr. Wood is talking about did go to the Historic Preservation Board earlier this year, and they did recommend approval subject to these variances being granted. So that's, the nature of the request. Again, we find that the hardship is not the action taken by the applicant. The relief would be not contrary to public interest. We didn't receive any calls or emails from neighbors regarding this request, and we do recommend approval of the two variance requests before you today.
Thank you. Can we go back and look at the pictures of the
Sure thing.
the existing, so which is the existing built room addition that she made that was on top of the
If you'll go back one, right there, that portion there was made into a bedroom. It used to be a real regular screen porch all the way across the back, and she turned it into a washroom and a bedroom.
Okay.
But the bedroom's got a 4.5 foot ceiling in it. I have never seen anything like it. And that's why we said, no, this needs to be taken off entirely and refurbished and put in a regular master bedroom and bath suite. So it has a 3-bedroom home, and at the same time, wrap the new porch from that master bedroom around the side with the same setback on the north boundary, that 6 inch required, variance.
Are you, so
That's
the other room that this other room that is, I guess, I'm assuming is the laundry room?
That's what she turned into a laundry room.
Are you taking that out as well?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the whole backside.
Yeah.
Yes, we're taking the whole bad portion of the home, we're stripping off the back.
And connecting with the existing deck right there at the same.
Exactly. We're going to take that deck and then we're going to wrap it over to the new master bedroom so it has a nice continuous deck for use.
Okay.
If you ever eat outside at the Red Door, you'll see the back of the place and you're like, what was somebody thinking? 'Cause the roof design is totally against what you would ever do. But, when people try to buy a place and try to flip it and don't know what they're doing, we end up with these things.
It looks like it's been like that for quite a while. It doesn't look like
So
it's
we're
new.
planning to keep it as a single family.
Yeah. It
Uh,
looks like
We have a
it's-
couple of people that are interested, but we've got to get through the variance so we can get our building permit and demo permit and we can get started on this. But it's because, we are, as I said, I'm sure they cut the lot out after they built the house. That was the only way they could have done it.
Yeah.
I live in Dixieland and I have a very similar type lot. It's very narrow.
So the existing home is already out of current compliance, right?
That's correct.
Correct, yeah. It doesn't-
Majority of the existing homes are
Yes.
already out.
The portiere, the porch, and the south boundary are all in violation of the setbacks.
On the other side, the deck, which I'm assuming we don't really have a strict date on when that was built.
No, we just know it was built,
Yeah.
it was a replacement of something previous also.
Right, right.
But there's no way, there's no existing foundations or anything else to tell you when and what and where.
And your plans are to replace the entire deck, including
That is
the
correct.
side?
The entire deck comes down. There are portions that are rotted. Take it back, start brand new.
Could you throw up the picture
Yes,
of the deck, please?
There's that beautiful deck. You want some of
I
it?
certainly don't see an issue with, the house was built before we adopted our zoning. But the deck, the city doesn't, when you're replacing a deck, what are we asking for, a foot?
That's a 6-inch
We're asking
variance
for
on
a
that north
6-inch
side.
variance there.
There's certainly nothing historic about the deck. There's nothing, the deck was probably built I'm assuming, now I'm just making assumptions, possibly built just by a DIY job outside the permitting process. I'm not sure why we would allow the deck to be built with a variance. So I'm asking that comment to the question to the city. You don't have an issue there, or what?
Not particularly, no. There's many houses within the South Lake Morton Historic District that, that are non-conforming on both sides and the rear, so a 6-inch, on this one side just wasn't out of the ordinary as far as the request goes. We didn't see it,
Materially, man.
that, right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Mayweather? Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Culberson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Coonerty, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Next up is 1744 Wilshire Court. This is a request for a 5-foot variance to allow a 0-foot street side setback in lieu of the required 5-foot setback specified by Figure 4.4-1 of the Land Development Code for privacy fences in street side yards in order to construct a 6-foot tall vinyl fence on the property located at 1744 Wilshire Court.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Joe Mawhinney with the law firm of Reed, Mawhinney & Link, 1611 Hardin Boulevard. With me here today is the applicant or the owner of the property. Joseph goes by Pete Minerva. The nature of our request on Mr. Minerva's behalf, this is a property that, a subdivision that was developed back in 1970s. The home was built around that time. It sits on the corner of Wilshire and Live Oak Road. Excuse me. This is the segment of Live Oak that's situated between Hallam and Lake Miriam. When it was originally built, the wooden fence, 6-foot fence that's there now, was placed along the right-of-way line and the property line with Live Oak Drive. The request is simply to replace that wooden fence with a 6-foot vinyl fence. The property was, in that whole section within Hallam and Lake Miriam, was annexed into the city by referendum back in the 90s. I'm not sure of the exact date, but that is what makes this property subject to the City of Lakeland codes and the reason we're here today. Under the City of Lakeland codes, it would require a 5-foot setback. If you're familiar with that section of Live Oak, there's a symmetry along there. Most of the properties within that area have a 6-foot fence or a fence of some kind. Most of them are 6 foot, and most of them are located right on the property line. So there is a symmetry as you drive along there of the fences being situated where the current fence is. Also, Mr. Minerva's lot is, as I mentioned, on the corner of Live Oak and Wilshire, at the entryway to the subdivision, which is simply a cul-de-sac of, what, 10 to maybe 15 houses, relatively small development. There are concrete block walls on either side of the entryway. Those concrete block walls that form the entryway are situated right on the property line and the right-of-way line of Live Oak Plantation, Live Oak, I keep saying Live Oak Plantation. I'm from Tallahassee. I grew up here in Live Oak Plantation, and I can't get that out of my head. But along that section, if this property were to be subjected to the 5-foot setback in order to replace this fence, there would be this very obvious indentation of the symmetry of the fence lines along the street there. Also, because the property was developed so long ago, there is very mature landscaping, including, there's got some oak trees along in there. If you were to try to replace the fence and observe the 5-foot setback, you'd have to go actually much more than 5 feet back in order to not have to remove the mature landscaping and the trees that are there. So this is, and we're glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Is that the fence right there we're talking about?
Yes, the wooden fence you see the concrete block wall
Yeah,
at the
so,
entryway.
and that's the block wall going into the neighborhood, so all you're asking is for it to maintain that symmetry and likeness of that line?
Correct.
Okay.
Good morning. Again, for the record, Todd Vargo with the City of Lakeland's Community and Economic Development Division. Mr. Mawini did a great job explaining essentially what the request is. The request is to replace that 6-foot wooden fence with a 6-foot PVC fence. And unfortunately, in this case at least, you know, when you take down one fence, you have to, and rebuild it, you have to meet the current land development code, which at this time requires a 5-foot setback along the street side property line. Again, going back to the aerial, we're looking here along Live Oak Road. This is the street side property line. So you can see again that this was the entrance to a subdivision that was developed in the county, annexed into the city at some point, and that entrance feature, the 4-foot high concrete wall, is mirrored actually on the south side as well. So each side of the road has that of Wilshire Court. And the request is to continue, is to again, to replace that with a 6-foot high vinyl fence that would run about 40 feet back to the rear property line. Live Oak Road is classified as a local street. There are no plans to put a sidewalk on this side. If there were, we'd be maybe a little concerned. There is an existing sidewalk on, you can see here, on the east side of Live Oak Road. And again, as Mr. Mawini stated, there's some mature landscaping that you can see on the other side of the fence. And moving this fence in 5 feet to conform with the setback would probably damage that landscaping probably irreparably and affect the aesthetics of the backyard. So we recommend approval of the variance. We don't believe the hardship is a result of any action taken by the applicant. Again, this is a gateway. The property is located at the entrance of a subdivision that was originally approved and developed in the county prior to annexation. Polk County historically doesn't regulate fences as much as the city. I don't even believe that the county requires a permit for a fence, at least it didn't a few years ago. The existing wood privacy fence you see there has been in the same location for many years, and moving the fence would be aesthetically unpleasing as the fence would not be in alignment with the existing subdivision wall, that concrete gateway feature. We believe the requested relief is reasonable and proportionate to the degree of hardship suffered by the applicant. Provided there are no substantive objections from adjoining property owners, we recommend the variance be considered for approval. And stand for any questions.
The two pictures, in my mind, don't match. Was a portion of the fence replaced? You go to the other,
Yeah, I think,
right there. That doesn't match the other
right.
picture.
I think one of these was taken by me and one I took from one of the street view kind of programs, just because it showed better. I don't remember because I set this up so long ago. I did the slideshow like almost a month ago, so.
That picture was probably taken like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that shows
Okay.
why the fence needs to be replaced, because it's now leaning pretty.
So this is an older picture. I think I got it again, I don't remember why, to show. Yeah, it's probably the sidewalk. When I was out there, I probably didn't grab a picture of the sidewalk on the east side of Live Oak Road. So I grabbed this from, again, one of the street view type internet. And this is the existing picture.
That's what it looks like now.
Yes.
So whatever was replaced, 5 years ago, is already looks like that.
Correct.
I think there was also a shadow being cast by that tree that caused the fence to look a different color.
Made it look better.
Well, it was in sunlight instead of in shadow.
You can see the tree has grown too.
Yes, and the shrubs in front of the wall, or behind the wall, I should say.
The city limit, is it in actually Live Oak, or does it go down a little bit further than Live Oak?
Lake Miriam Drive is the south boundary of the city there, and as the applicant stated, this area was annexed in the late 90s, so it's possible that that fence was down when it was still in the county. I mean, I guess in Florida, you could have a wood fence last more than 20 years. And when it was brought in, actually the code affected the town would have required a 30-foot setback for a 6-foot high fence, and over the years we reduced that down to 5, but there's certain areas that were done in the county that they were developed much more permissively, and you had this kind of situation here where it may be warranted to grant a variance relief to allow a lesser setback.
Yeah, I mean, again, we really don't have an issue. If you were to move this back 5 feet, it just wouldn't look right. The dog leg between the fence and the concrete wall would it would not be pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, that other picture doesn't match that at all.
No, you can
It looks like there used to be a
You can see
sidewalk.
those look new in this picture.
Mr. Mulwin, do you know if that subdivision wall is maintained by an HOA, or is it something that just sort of was left to the owner to handle?
Do y'all have a homeowners association or anything like that? Yeah, this was developed back in the 70s. I'm sure there's a restrictive covenants, but probably the developer put that in there, sold the lots, and that was it. But somebody's maintaining it, obviously, the wall.
No? That's my responsibility.
Oh, you maintain the wall?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen a couple cases where these older subdivisions where the HOAs sunsetted, they're no longer in place, and the homeowners are left with the responsibility of dealing with the wall there. So if there's no HOA at some point, if the homeowner wanted to remove that, they could certainly, alter or remove that feature. It's not otherwise protected.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Mayweather? Yes. Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Culberson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Quenisha, yes. So you're approved.
Thank you, everybody. I would like to say, I meant to say at the beginning, I want to thank the people at Community Development. I really think here in Lakeland, we're blessed with a fine group of people. And they're always courteous, they're always professional, and I appreciate you guys, and thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any unfinished business that we need to address? Any new business? All right, we stand adjourned.